This wasn't just another rugby match, it was a statement, a seismic moment that echoed across Pretoria and reverberated all the way to Dublin. In front of nearly 48,000 roaring fans at Loftus Versfeld, the Bulls didn't just beat the Sharks, they dismantled them, they outthought them, they outlasted them, and in doing so, they punched their ticket to the URC Final in Europe. A first in the competition's short but turbulent history. Club rugby needed a moment like this. With whispers of breakaway leagues and financial turmoil haunting the sport, the Bulls delivered a powerful counter-narrative. This wasn't a sport in decline. This was a sport roaring back to life. It wasn't just the South African derby on display. It was club rugby proving it still had the pulse of the people. Now the stage is set for a colossal clash in Dublin. But before we look ahead to Leinster, we have to understand how the Bulls got there and what it really means. When it comes to knockout rugby, the rulebook changes. It's not always about who's flashier or who holds more territory. It's about execution, pressure, composure, and on every metric that counts, emotional control, discipline, tactical awareness, the Bulls were miles ahead. They didn't just survive the chaos. They dictated it. From the opening whistle, it was clear Jake White had drilled his men to perfection. While the Sharks chased moments of brilliance, the Bulls stuck to fundamentals, clever kicking, relentless chasing, and near-flawless game management. Their strategy wasn't beautiful, but it was brutally effective. They kept the ball out of danger, suffocated the Sharks' counter-attack, and played the clock like seasoned veterans. In knockout rugby, that's how you win. Not by style, but by substance. On paper, the Sharks were terrifying. A roster stacked with world-class names. Springboks, fan favourites, headline grabbers. But when it came to the semi-final stage, that glittering list didn't translate into unity. Instead of cohesion, they looked like a group of strangers playing the same sport in different ways. And maybe that's the Sharks' eternal curse. They always look better on paper than they do on the pitch. The match against Munster the week before was a 100-minute emotional roller coaster, and it left the squad visibly drained. That adrenaline, that grit, they couldn't bottle it twice. Meanwhile, the Bulls, calm and rested, were at home. They knew what was coming and they played like it. The Sharks, despite all their firepower, couldn't find their rhythm. It wasn't just a defeat, it was an unravelling. Jake White didn't just win a rugby match, he ran a masterclass in coaching. While the Sharks banked on individual brilliance, White banked on pressure systems, field control and flawless execution, and it paid off, big time. He knew who the threats were, Afalili Fassi with his blistering counters, and Andre Esterhuizen, the midfield wrecking ball. So what did White do? He pushed his defence up fast and wide, forcing the playmakers back into traffic. Instead of dancing around defenders, they ran straight into chaos. Kicking was another weapon. And it wasn't just about the distance, it was about the follow-up. Seb de Klerk, Kane Moody, even the forwards joined the chase. They turned average kicks into game winners. Every decision was calculated, every movement designed to suffocate the Sharks' rhythm. It wasn't the usual Springbok stars who controlled the narrative. It was the men flying just under the radar. Embrose Papier, often overlooked in favour of bigger names, dominated the tempo. His kicking game was clinical, and his territorial control was surgical. David Creel reminded everyone he still deserves a look at the green and gold jersey. His timing, awareness and physicality caused constant disruption. But the real sledgehammer? Kherbrus Wiese. He played like a man on a mission, tearing into breakdowns, shutting down line breaks and making his presence felt on every blade of grass. And across the field, the Sharks' big names faltered. Jaden Hendrickse, World Cup winner, looked flat. Lucanio Am, usually the cool head under pressure, was a shadow of himself. It wasn't just a tactical loss, it was a symbolic one. The future might not belong to the familiar names anymore. Every game has a few seconds that tilt the entire story. For the Bulls, those moments came early and they hit hard. A 12-0 lead might not sound dramatic, but in a semi-final, it's a sledgehammer. It forces your opponent to chase, It messes with rhythm and it makes smart teams smarter. Then came the cards. 3 Bulls players sent off for 10-minute stints. And yet, incredibly, the Bulls didn't break. They adapted, they fought, they bent, but never snapped. That composure under chaos was the difference between contenders and champions. Meanwhile, the Sharks had their own critical chances. Oxnachet held up over the line, missed conversions, slipped kicks, turnovers in their own 22. When the moments came, they weren't ready. And in knockout rugby, that's a death sentence. Leinster is no ordinary opponent. They're the blueprint, the standard, the machine. But here's the twist. The Bulls have beaten them before, in Dublin, under pressure. And they didn't fluke it, they earned it. 4 wins in the last 5 meetings. That's not luck, that's a pattern. And though some of those wins came when Leinster rested top players, the Bulls don't care. They've stared down the blue wall and found cracks. What makes this final even more intriguing is the new trend both teams are following, possession-light rugby. Neither side wants to hold the ball for long stretches anymore. Instead, they play for territory, kick smart, and wait for mistakes. It's going to be a chess match disguised as a war. But Leinster is rested. Their road to the final was less brutal. The Bulls had to earn every inch, every point. And the question now is simple. Does battle-hardened beat well-rested? Leinster is no ordinary opponent. They're the blueprint, the standard, the machine. But here's the twist. The Bulls have beaten them before, in Dublin, under pressure. And they didn't fluke it. They earned it. 4 wins in the last 5 meetings. That's not luck. That's a pattern. And though some of those wins came when Leinster rested top players, the Bulls don't care. They've stared down the blue wall and found cracks. What makes this final even more intriguing is the new trend both teams are following. Possession-light rugby. Neither side wants to hold the ball for long stretches anymore. Instead, they play for territory, kick smart and wait for mistakes. It's going to be a chess match disguised as a war, but Leinster is rested. Their road to the final was less brutal. The Bulls had to earn every inch, every point, and the question now is simple. Does battle-hardened beat well-rested? Since joining the URC, South African teams have been constant disruptors. Every single final has had one. That alone is a statement. But success is measured in silverware, not appearances. The Stormers won the first title. Since then, nothing. If the Bulls fall short in Dublin, South Africa's record in URC finals will slip to 25%. But if they win, they even the score, 50%. And that matters. Not just for bragging rights, but for proof. Proof that Southern grit can outmatch Northern structure. This final isn't just about Leinster and the Bulls. It's about a continent staking its claim. It's about proving that the game doesn't belong to one hemisphere. It belongs to those who want it more. The Bulls did more than just win a rugby match. They sent a message. That strategy beats stardom. That composure crushes chaos. That South Africa still breeds warriors. But now they face their greatest test yet. Leinster in Dublin with everything on the line. This won't be a battle of flashy offloads or crowd-pleasing flair. It'll be a war of inches, of patience, of nerve. The Bulls have momentum, yes, but do they have enough left in the tank to cross one final line? Club rugby lives and dies by these moments, and as the Bulls step onto that field under the European lights, they carry more than their own hopes. They carry a nation's hunger. This is more than a final, it's a reckoning.